Hi and welcome. This is Jennifer Miner. Today I'll be sharing with you a technique-heavy card which features wrinkle-free distress, direct-to-paper inking, stenciling with Crackle paint, and working with PearlEx powders. This card is a bee-themed card with lots of products and layers and a fair bit of sparkle and shimmer, and also features the new Tim Holtz layered bee die from Sizzix. And let's get started. You can see here I'm working on my background first. I'm stamping that distress image with tarnished brass distress paint, and this will resist the ink that we're going to apply later. I've got that stamped on my background, and I'm also going to create a emboss resist by stamping this French script stamp also on my background. I'm going to go around the damask, and then I will utilize my clear embossing powder here to create a resist for the color applications we'll do next. And once I've got that stamped, I always make sure I get the excess embossing powder tapped off, and then we'll use my heat tool to melt the embossing powder. And I like to keep my clear embossing powder in the little tub there so that I can just apply it and tap right back into it. It makes great storage solution for that color since I use it so often. And now we'll start the wrinkle-free distress. I'm just taking 4 shades of distress ink, applying those right onto my nonstick craft mat. Now normally I use water to activate my ink, but for this one I decided to use Perfect Pearls in Pearl along with water just to give a little extra shine, and I think you'll see down the road that was a great addition to this technique. So just taking my background paper and smushing it into the little puddles of ink that have formed on my craft mat. I like that you can kind of add to it. You could stop at any time, whether you want more or less white showing on your background. Now, once I was finished with this step, I decided that it was not quite intense enough. I wanted a little more color, so I am giving it a spritz there with the Heidi Swapp Color Mist, along with just one little blast of Dylusions there on this side. And you can see here how fantastic the Perfect Pearls looks on this technique. And once I heat set that, dried the paper, I wanted to add a little more intensity by doing a direct to paper with my ink blending tool right on that background. I also feel like this helps pop the emboss resist that I've got on the right hand side of the page there, and just adds more color dimension, a little more intensity to the page. And using the same colors that I worked with in the initial process, and just kind of blending those. I think that's one of the greatest things about these tools is that everything works together and you can keep layering and building. So once I had that how I wanted it, I started the process of adding my Crackle Stencil. So I've got my Honeycomb stencil set on my page and put a little blob of Crackle paint, and this is rock candy, so clear, and then just one single drop of tea dye Reinker. Then I use my palette knife just to kind of mix that up and get the color even, and then just apply it right through that stencil as I would any other tool or product. And what I thought was great about this is the transparency of the product made it look like honey when it dried. I'd never done this before, but I was really pleased with the outcome. Just doing a second coat there. And these craft mats are amazing for working with things like this, and it wipes right up. So we set that aside to dry. And while that was drying, I started working on my bee. So I die cut that with my Epic 6, just out of plain cardstock. And then this is a die that comes with a embossing folder that is coordinating. So I am applying ink right on that texture fade or embossing folder using my brayer and ground espresso ink. So once I've got that inked up, I'm just going to layer my bee right on top of that. Let's see here, get it all lined up and run it through my die cutting machine. And what this does then, it's going to impress right into that cardstock, and instead of just being an impression, it will have the color in the recess. Really think this is fantastic and super fun. I've not really worked with this technique before, but this die cut and texture fade are perfect for it. So you can see there's my bee with the color down in the recess. And now again, going back to that direct-to-paper technique, and I'm working with tea dye to start with. And then I will move into working with scattered straw and fossilized amber, which were perfect for the bee. Everything just kind of really came together on this color-wise. And so you can see, I'm trying to be really careful not to normally I work in a circular motion, but if I did that on this die cut, I run the risk of accidentally ripping off a leg or wing, which I'm not saying it hasn't happened before, but you can see the fossilized amber and scattered straw work fantastic together. And then again, you know me, I like a lot of glitter, a little bling and shimmer, so I'm adding a little bit of Wild Honey Distressed Stickles only on the wings, and just putting a little dollop of that and then spreading it out with my finger. And once I had that as I was wanting it, I added a very thin layer of glossy accents. If you've seen my cards, you know I use glossy accents a lot. I think it's a fantastic tool, and I normally go with a fairly heavy-handed application. For this bee, I put on a much smaller amount and then just leveled it out with my finger and was really pleased with the look, because I didn't want to lose any of that texture or colors or even the glitter in a giant blob of glossy accents. Sometimes I do, but not for this card. And now I decided that yes, we needed more glitter, more bling, more shimmer. So I am going to use my PearlEx powder and starting with Brilliant Gold and just add a little shimmer to the body of my bee. And I just picked this up with a regular old paintbrush and paint right onto my die cut. There's still a little bit of dampness in the ink itself, and the PearlEx powder just grips right onto it. Here it looks pretty flat, but the inking comes through it, and I think you can see that in the still photos. So once I had my gold as I wanted it, I also added a little accent with another PearlEx powder in Super Bronze. Kind of tried to work that in the same areas where the fossilized amber ink was, and then a little bit into the recesses where my ground espresso is. And this added just a great accent to this die cut, and I think I'll have to pull out those PearlEx powders some more. And now I have stamped and then fussy cut this little frame out. And again, going back to that direct to paper, I love the way that you can add color and texture to any paper item. Here I'm starting with, again, the tea dye, and I'll add a little bit of vintage photo. And then for this piece, I added a little Victorian velvet, which just gave it an extra pop and extra warmth. It was really nice and loved the way that turned out. I also stamped my Sentiment Believe, which is from a Fancy Pants Designs stamp in the ground espresso on that, and adhered it to my card front. And added my bee. I also stamped a couple of little bee silhouettes on both my sentiment and around. And so all of this, I did another direct to paper piece with Wilted Violet and Salty Ocean. So that's what I'm adhering my main card piece to. And then I did another background matte in the same colors as my bee. So that's the tea dye, scattered straw, and fossilized amber. I've added a few flowers from Prima, and then 4 brads in the corners. Part of this, I like the look, but also it helps with that wrinkle-free distress. I've got a little bit of wave in the paper, and that just makes sure that everything stays glued where I put it. Now you can see I'm adding here a few adhesive gems and a few adhesive pearls, and you might say, well, why is there glue on the desk? A couple of these brands I feel don't adhere very well, so when I use those, I make sure I give them a little extra coat of glue just to make sure that nothing pops off. When this goes through the mail, everything stays as it was created. I don't always do that with adhesive gems, but certainly there's a couple brands that I feel need a little help. And so just adding those accents to the card. And you can kind of see my process there with I get out a whole bunch of different sizes, shapes, and colors and just kind of go with the flow and work through it. And then to coordinate with my original Damask shape stamp, I'm adding just a handful of sequins on the front of my card just to kind of pull all that whole color palette together. And I feel like they really tie it. And that was it. This card was so much fun to create. I loved all of the different techniques and putting them together on one card front. And I want to thank you all so much for your time today and hope you enjoyed the process. And please come visit me at jenniferminer.com. Thanks and have a great day.